all, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, I want to welcome you. Who am I? My name is Eileen. I'm the owner of Beer Up, which is an HR career consulting firm. I specialize in helping anyone who's trying to find a job, either prep for your interview or simply navigate issues in the workplace. Definitely check out my website. So today I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to talk about myself and a little bit why I formed this channel and my company. So as you see, the thumbnail says how my low self-esteem used to stop me from getting jobs. And that is so very true. And I kind of just want to give you a little bit about my history and my background. The first thing you have to know is that I am a former HR executive. I used to be a VP of HR. I've had many jobs in HR. But one of the things that a lot of people don't know, some of my friends do not even know this. But number one, when I was growing up, my mom took us to a daycare, and you can ask them, what does this have to do with everything? But I'm going to tell you. I think it's important I give you the foundation of who I am and how I grew up. So anyway, my mom took us to a daycare, and while we're at this daycare, this is when a lot of lead was in paint, and so as a 2-year-old, as 2-year-olds do really strange things, I ate the paint off of the wall, and it had lead in it. And I probably did that maybe a couple months, and then took me to the doctor. I guess I was feeling sick, and come to find out, I had eaten lead. And as I was developing and getting older, my mom had me tested, and it is true that if you eat lead, it does delay someone's ability to comprehend. So long story short, I was diagnosed with a learning disability, and it's called dyslexia. And I grew up knowing this when I got tested, like at maybe 9. And I always had this feeling of not being good enough. And I knew I had issues because my D's were always backwards, my numbers were different, and I learned differently. And so, like I said, when you get tested for dyslexia, it doesn't mean that you're dumb, but all I knew is that I was different and I learned differently. And words, like if I get really nervous, letters and words would disappear from sentences, and it was such a struggle as I was growing up. But I worked really hard to try to hide it. I would even go to classes for people with learning disability. But what's so interesting, my mom worked with me at home, and the person who was over the class that I would go to, I think it was called resource. She just didn't understand why I was there because I would like run circles around the other students, but she just kept saying, I want you to get out of here, you don't belong here, and this is the and I would always test out and go to the regular class, but then I would fall behind because of my disability. And they really didn't know, the teachers didn't know, but my mom knew. And so they would try to put me back in resource, and then I would go to resource, and the teacher would the resource teacher would be like, I don't know why you're here. Then I would get tested out. So that went on, all the way up until I got to high school. And so in high school, they were like, you don't need resource anymore. But I still struggle with schoolwork. I love to learn, but it just wasn't processing like it was for other people. And I'll never forget, I had a counselor to tell me, you probably should think about not going to college, because people typically, with disabilities don't really excel in college, and I was just devastated by that because I have a twin sister who really smart, and she would get straight A's, and I was struggling with, just getting straight C's. And my mom was so happy when I would get straight C's because she knew how hard I worked and how hard school was for me. But she was like, you going to college, and then I also found out that I had a hearing problem. So on top of on top of having a learning disability, I also had a hearing problem. And so it caused me to speak a little differently because I couldn't hear what other people were saying, but I learned how to speak, and read lips and stuff like that. And my mom would always say, "Do you want me to tell?" I go, "No, I don't want anyone to know." I didn't want her to tell my teachers. I didn't want any special help because I know in college, they have this thing where if you are someone with a learning disability, you can take longer time to take a test. You can have somebody read your notes and take notes for you. And I was like, "No, I don't want it. I'm going to do it on my own." Long story short, I was a political science major because I wanted to go to law school, and I thought that if I did really well, I can take the LSAT. And once I got through college, I learned how to study. I still learn differently, but I worked really, really hard, and I knew that the fact that I was there was an accomplishment in itself. And then I went to graduate school. And I'll never forget because my professor in college, because I was like, "Well, what do you think about me going to college? I mean, to graduate school?" And he was like, she said, "If you worked as hard as you did here, you can go to graduate school." Went to graduate school. I didn't want to do political science, but I wanted to work in HR. So I was like, "Let me get a master's in management." And I'm going to tell you, there were so many teachers that helped me along the way. But then there were some teachers who would just like, "I don't know how you got here, because of, my hearing problem, my learning disability." And I was so vain. I refused to wear hearing aid and I didn't want to tell anyone that had a learning disability. I wanted to do it on my own. And then, but anyway, long story short, I graduated. And the one thing I learned is that no matter what your background is, no matter who you are, what people say about you, you can be successful. I struggle with self-esteem. Like, even though I felt like I could do things, I always was so scared to apply for certain types of job. And then at some point, I was like, you know what? That you only get one life to live, and it's not about what other people think about you. It's how you treat other people and how you make other people feel. And so from that point on in my life, I always say I'm going to give 200%. If there's a job that I want, I'm going to study. I'm going to do whatever it is for me to do it. And that meant making connections. That meant learning things on my own because as an HR professional, it is not the company's responsibility to get you skills and training. That's something you have to do. So, like I said, I got my certification. I formed study group. I learned everything there was to learn about HR. So I used to have low self esteem, but then I start to, once you start to get experience and training and certificates and awards, there's nothing in this world that you can't do, no matter who you are, what experiences you've had, you can do it. And so that's one of the reasons why I started my company because I felt like everybody needs someone that's going to believe in them and pour into them. And that's one of the reasons why I became a career coach as well as a life coach. Um, Not everybody has that. Even your friends may not be the person that motivates you or family members, but that's what I do. I let my clients know that you can be successful no matter what your background is. It's not about, who your parents are or were. It's not about, the education that you got, if you went to Ivy League or not. Even if you didn't go to school, you still can be successful. It's all in the presentation, which is the interviewing, all in prepping for that interview, how you do that. And so low self-esteem used to really stop me. I used to fumble with interviews, but the only way you can build your self-esteem is by having someone who believes in you and, guide you through your career and guide you through how to interview because not everybody is an extrovert. A lot of us, I'm an introvert and I have to learn to be to toot my own horn. That is the thing that I learned, to toot my own horn. I know what I excel at. I know what I'm not good at, and I can always play up what I'm good at. And that's the key of, getting a job or, transitioning into a different level of your career. It is being prepared. And that's what I do. And that's why I want us to do this video to kind of explain who I am and why I wanted to start this YouTube channel. So that's my video. I would love to hear from you. Please, please like this video, subscribe to my channel, check out my website. And until next time, I will see you later. This is Eileen. Bye. Hi, I want to invite you to a free webinar called Interview with a Purpose. You're going to learn how to communicate your value with clarity and confidence. During this tough economical time, your interviewing skills must be superb. And so, in order to do this, you need to learn what your strengths are and how to play up your strength, as well as articulate your value and how you're going to help them to solve a problem. So, this webinar is going to be interactive. We're going to really dive into who you are as a person. So, don't miss out. The webinar is Monday, September the 16th. It's going to be from noon until 1 Central Standard Time. It's going to be available on YouTube Live as well as Facebook Live. See you there.